Today we're going to work on this lovely twisted headband done in our camel stitch. We did our camel stitch in a previous video, but I will show it again here in just a few moments. And then we're going to create this lovely twisting happening here at in the center. So that's our seam from our two ends, okay? Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Amanda and I am the creative behind Purple Rose Crafts. So I've been knitting and crocheting for well over 25 years at this point. So thanks so much for joining us. If you are excited about this one like I am, then go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. So let's get started. All right, so we're gonna use our Red Heart Super Saver. I just in this lovely burgundy color. You can see that there. This is just a messy ball that I had in my yarn stash, so it does kind of tend to get a little bit crazy when I don't use the whole thing all at once. And we have also grabbed our 5mm crochet hook, and we're going to start with our slip knot. Now we're going to start this pattern with our foundation half double crochets that we did in a previous video, which I will link below, and we will go over that just really quickly right now. Our camel stitch uses a half double crochet, so we're going to start by chaining 3. So the initial chain is our chain stitch, and then we are using the second 2 chains as our first half double crochet. Okay, so now we're going to yarn over and insert it back into the very first chain from our slip knot, yarn over, draw up our first loop. Now here is where the change happens from the foundation to the from a regular half double. Draw through just our first loop on our hook. This creates our foundation chain, and then now go through all 3 loops on the hook to finish our half double crochet. All right, let's do that again. All right, so now we're gonna insert our hook into the bottom where we just created that chain with our yarn over. Put our yarn over our hook, draw it through. Now again, we're gonna draw through just the first loop on the hook. Now we have our 3, and we're gonna finish our half double crochet there. Okay, now we're going to continue doing that. We're working into the chain that we just created on the bottom of each stitch. So this loop here is our chain stitch, okay? So we're gonna yarn over, insert down into that stitch, yarn over, draw up through one, or just through the loop, the chain stitch, yarn over again, draw through just the first one, and then yarn over and draw through all 3 to give us our half double crochet. Okay, now what's great about foundation chain or foundation stitches is that we don't have to measure how long we want our work to be, or we don't have to guess our foundation chains, how many we need to do to go ahead and create our item. Okay, so this the gray one that we have here is suitable for an adult. It actually fits my daughter as well. She's 7, almost 8, but she has a pretty big head, and that one fits her pretty well. But she did say it was a little bit loose. So if you wanted to make something that was child size, you're going to measure the circumference of their head over the ears and over the forehead, and then down around the nape of the neck, and then use your measuring tape to determine how long your foundation stitches are going to be. So we're gonna crochet a whole bunch of these until we get to our desired length. I'm gonna go about 22 inches because that would fit my head, and that's suitable for, you know, an adult. But you can always go a baby size would be around, you know, between 10 and 14 inches depending on how big the child is, right? So we're just gonna go ahead and continue doing our foundation stitches, and we'll be back in just a second once we've got to the end of that, and we will do our camel stitch once we get to the second row. All right, so here we are. We finished our first row. I went with about 20 inches, even though my head's a little bit more like 22. Basically, the reason is that it's going to stretch a little bit, so I wanted to be able to have a little bit of stretching room. All right, so now we've turned our work around. We did our chain 2. All right, so we started our next row with our chain 2. Now we're going to yarn over, and we're going to skip this first stitch that we finished our half double crochet in the last time, and we're going to move into the second. This is how we get a nice straight edge when we're working around our work. So now to do our camel stitch, we're actually going to create our half double crochets into this back loop. So it's called the third loop right here. So normally if we were going to crochet, you know, a regular stitch, we do it into the V at the top, but now we're going to actually come across into the back and yarn over and do our half double crochets here. All right. So that's our camel stitch. We're going to continue working in this fashion for the next several rows. Continue working along, doing camel stitches on each of the rows. All right, so I just finished our row here of our half double crochets working into the third loop. So now what we're gonna do is I've chained 2 here for the next row, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn it around. So this is where we're actually seeing the magic. As I said in the previous camel stitch video, you can see that we're getting our top V's from our stitches popping out the front of our work. Now what's going to happen is we're going to see this every other row, but you're not going to be able to tell that it's every other row once we kind of get working into the pattern, okay? And for our pattern, we're doing about 12 rows to get a thickness for this one here. You can go wider or narrower depending on who you're making your headband for. Like I said, if you were going to do it for a baby, obviously this wide would be a little bit crazy. So, you know, feel free to modify your width, you know, as you get going, and I'll be back in just a moment and we'll go ahead and do our finishing off. Just make sure when you finish your work that you leave a long tail, and then I'll show you how to do this twisted finishing edge here in just a moment. So give the video a pause, go ahead and work up your headband and come back to us in just a moment. All right, welcome back. So we are now completed our headband. We've done about 12 rows here of our camel stitch as we did at the beginning of the video. And now we're ready to go ahead and fasten off. So what we're gonna do here is to finish off our work. What I've done is I've left a long tail here. So it's about, 12 inches or so long. And I'm gonna actually just pull the end of the yarn through the loop. So we're gonna pull that out, and now we've fastened off our work. That's basically it. So we just cut our yarn, pull our loop, and then we're just left with one strand coming out of the end of our last stitch, and we're finished. So now to go ahead and create our twisted headband. So we've got our twist in the front, like I showed at the beginning. What we're gonna do is we're gonna actually take both ends of our headband, we're gonna fold them in half. So basically fold them in half lengthwise. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring them together. So take our 2 ends of our work, and we're gonna, because they're folded in half, what we're gonna do is we're gonna weave them together. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna stick one of them inside the other fold, and then wrap the other side of it around like this, okay? So now what we've got is we've got everything woven together. Now it doesn't exactly matter which way you put them together. So you can do it this way, where you put the top one from the right side inside and the bottom of the left inside the other side, or you can do it where the way that we first did it. It doesn't really matter, okay? Now we're gonna hold on to this, and we're going to grab our yarn needle. So you're gonna want a larger darning needle, and we're gonna go ahead and thread. So I'm gonna just put my hand on that so it doesn't flop away on us. And we're gonna go ahead and thread our yarn through the hole. Sometimes it doesn't go as well as it just did right there, and if you do need to, you can always, little kind of quick tip with the darning needle is what I will do is I will take a loop around the end of my darning needle, squeeze it really tight, and then now we've got this great little, tip right here, and then we just slide it through our darning needle, and you don't end up getting all of those extra strings that sometimes get stuck outside of our needle when we're threading it through. All right, so now we're going to take our yarn needle with our yarn threaded through, and we're going to sew all 4 sections that we have just woven together here. So we're going to take, because we're coming off of the top here, we are going to come down through the end of the first part of our work that's closest to our needle, thread through the next piece, and then through the final one like so. Pull it, cinch it down. I'm not really going to worry about this end too much. We can just leave it off to the side. We'll weave it in afterwards, or you can weave it in before. It doesn't really matter at this point when we weave it in. Okay, so keep everything nice and tight and together. And we're gonna go back through, kind of catching each of the layers and coming back through the back of the work. All right, and we're just gonna keep working through our headband in both directions, back and forth, making sure things are nice and tight. Okay, so now we're finished. We have woven everything, sewed it all together nice and tight, and then when we pull it apart, it's gonna look awesome, okay? So now what we're gonna do is we've got this long end here from our darning needle, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go ahead and weave that in. So we're gonna, all right, so here we go. I've woven in both of my ends that we had left, and now we're gonna go ahead and turn it out and see what it looks like. So there we go. All right, so I like to flatten mine a little bit like this. And there we go, we have our twist in the front for our headband. And that's it. So you always wanna make sure that when you're going to go ahead and make the kind of Pac-Man mouths, let's say, when you go to put your two little Pac-Man mouths together, what you wanna do is have the front of your work facing you. So whatever work you're doing, whatever fabric you're using, you can use like a straight knit fabric, or you can use this crochet, camel stitch that we did today. You can use any fabric basically that you've created into this headband style. Just make sure your good side is towards you, your right side of your work, and then you're gonna go ahead and fold up your two fronts, and you're gonna loop them over this way, okay? Now then behind it, of course, what you're gonna actually sew from is gonna be the back side. And then when you open it up, it's gonna be this beautiful crochet or knit twist front headband. So we're gonna do this headband in a couple of different fabrics as well, but this is just our first one done in the camel stitch. So I've got a couple of knit ones coming along as well. And you can do anything, like you can do whatever fabric kind of makes your heart sing, if you will, for the center. Like you can do like puff stitches, you can do anything basically. We just did a simple camel stitch for this one, but it's nice and easy to go ahead and make into that awesome twist front headband, okay? So this one would actually probably fit a small child, maybe a little bit thick this way for it, but we did 12 rows. So you can modify, of course, as needed for any type of fabric that you like, okay? And so that's it for this video. So if you guys like this, go ahead and hit that like button below. Hit subscribe, because we've got lots more beginner tutorials coming for both knit and crochet. So if you'd like to learn some new skills, or you want to learn some new stitches, or you want to learn some new patterns, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because we have tons of videos coming over the next while, okay? Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time.